Yo guys, it's Slyroh. You already know that today I'm bringing you guys my Week 7 TBU battle versus Erik, Ashinakai, and the Bristol Bidoofs. This match was really important for me because the past couple weeks have been less than ideal, as some would say, as in terms of my performance. My team building has been less than stellar, and my endgame management has been atrocious. And it's things like that that I really want to improve on. It's things like that that I really want to improve on, and I was really hoping to do that for this battle. So this is kind of like my redemption game. I need to redeem myself. I need to prove to myself that I can beat anybody and I can play with anybody, and that I am still not terrible at, Pokemon leagues. So, I buckled down, I put in the work, and I made this team, and we're going to see exactly how that turned out for us. Now, Erik is on a bit of a need for redemption himself, as he is on a bit of a losing streak. He has lost 2 straight games, and after pretty much asserting himself as one of the powerhouses in this league, he has kind of taken a half step back. Of course, he is still one of the better teams statistically in this league, and he really wanted to go into this game kind of proving that he hasn't lost it this season either. So kind of a similar story for both of us going into this. So that's kind of the setup to this match. Now let's go on to the team that he brought. He decided to bring Megaladios, Reuniclus, Honchkrow, Heatran, Tyrantrum, and Conkeldurr, meaning that he left out Milotic, he left out Raikou, he left out Excelgor, and he left out Tangrowth. So that was pretty okay for me, which means that he did bring kind of a slower-ish team. So that means that our wall breakers can kind of, wall break. If you guys want to know the full extent of the team and why I brought what I brought, you can check out the team analysis video that was uploaded yesterday. I might leave a link in the description below. I might not. It depends on my memory, which is very unreliable. So, but quickly go over what I did bring. I brought a physically defensive Hippowdon, and a Assault Vest physically offensive Meloetta, a specially offensive with Bolt Strike as a coverage move, Wise Glasses, Kieran Black, Choice Banded Emboar, Choice Banded Gramble, and semi-standard Mega Beedrill with no Protect. So, I was pretty confident at the team matchup. I mean, this is 6 really scary Pokemon. So, I knew that my work was cut out for me, but hey, you know what? We're going to do our absolute best. So, I decide to look at the team and look at this strategically. What I don't have Hazard Removal. I also have an Emboar, a Kieran Black, and a Mega Beedrill that don't really want to keep taking hazard damage, with my only real form of recovery being Slack Off on Hippowdon. So, the 2 things that can set up rocks on this team are Heatran and Tyrantrum. What do both of those Pokemon have in common? They're both weak to ground. So, I'm going to lead off Hippowdon. Let's go ahead and get into this match so we can see how this played out. So, like I said, I am going to lead Hippowdon, and you'll see Erik is issuing a challenge. He actually decides to lead out Kronk the Conkeldurr. So I was like, okay, that's a lead. Turn 1, I'm calking. Standard Conkeldurr only does like 35% with an Ice Punch, 30 to 35. So I was like, you know what, this is a good time to get my own rocks up. He doesn't have hazard removal unless it's on Megaladios, so let's go ahead and do that. However, this Ice Punch does about half. So this was either Banded Guts or Sheer Force Life Orb. I assume that this was Sheer Force Life Orb because that just makes a little bit more sense. And so, yeah, so I got the Sandstorm, I got rocks. I don't want to take another Ice Punch though. So Hippowdon has done what it needs to do so far. We need to save it so we can take hits later. I go ahead and switch into Gramble, figuring it's too early to overpredict. He's probably just going to go for another Ice Punch. Let's get the Intimidate off. Let's switch into a physical hit. He's not really going to be expecting a Choice Banded Gramble, especially if I'm using it like a regular Gramble, like a regular defensive Gramble. We do take some damage, but it's all fine and good. We outspeed this Conkeldurr, so we can just get off a Play Rough, and it will do a lot of damage. However, I know he's not going to stay in, so I actually go for the Earthquake, trying to catch the Heatran on the switch, but instead, I actually get the Reuniclus on the switch, which isn't really that bad. This Reuniclus also shows us a couple things. A, it's going to take Sandstorm damage here, meaning it's not Magic Guard. B, it's going to get Leftovers recovery, meaning it's not Life Orb or anything like that. And C, just based on the damage, I could tell this was a very defensive Reuniclus. So, that's good to know. I'm a little bit less scared of it. So, but my switch in is Meloetta. He played really well for this, and he went for Signal Beam to catch Meloetta on the switch in. Only problem with that is it still does only 40 damage. So, I mean, it's a good habit, but it really didn't end up helping. He does get the Confusion, though, which really, really sucks. Now, from this range, a knockoff will take out Reuniclus. I don't know if it would have taken out this Reuniclus, because I have a feeling that this was physically defensive Reuniclus, but it would have done a lot of damage. But he switches out as I go for the knockoff, and he brings in the Latias, because I can't knock off its Mega Stone. I don't know what he's predicting there, but, I mean, I can't generally do things to a Mega Latias anyway, but I hurt myself in Confusion, which sucks. Sandstorm goes away, and I was just like, well, Meloetta is kind of my switch into a Mega Latias too, because I don't really have much else to switch in, so I'm just going to stay in and try to knock off again. Now, this turn, he does reveal the Draco Meteor, and based on the damage that this does, I can also tell that this Mega Latias is not very offensive. This is a pretty defensive-ish Mega Latias, so that's really good info to have. I snap out of the Confusion, I go for knockoff, and I actually get a crit here, which doesn't matter. It basically just makes up for the fact that I wasn't able to go for knockoff last turn because I hurt myself in Confusion, so now the hacks have balanced out each other. I decide to go into Emboar because even if he packs Psyshock, it will do about 50% max, and I was just like, you know what, I'm willing to take that risk. He actually goes for Reflect. Kind of just wanting to scout what all else he has and what he's going to do. I do just decide to attack here, and I go for Flare Blitz as he roosts up, and you'll see this Flare Blitz does like nothing. This is Choice Banded Emboar, but it is a defensive Mega Latias behind a Reflect. So, he's already shown Reflect, Roost, and Draco Meteor, so I was pretty confident that his last move was probably like a Light Screen or something, meaning Draco is probably his only attack, which is really good knowledge to have in the future. However, I can't touch it, so I switch out. You see he switches out too. I don't know if he predicted anything or not, but I switch into Kieran Black, he switches into Tyrantrum. Pause. So, this turn here was huge. We both kind of just brought these in without really gaining knowledge from each other about what the other is. If this Tyrantrum is Scarfed, it can go for Head Smash and take me out. It can go for a Dragon move and do a lot of damage. Might even be able to take me out, depending. But he didn't bring it in necessarily in a scarfed way, and I was just like, you know what? I am trying to bluff that my Kieran Black is scarfed. So, I thought about this play for a really long time, but I ended up making a really risky play. I was just like, you know what? I'm going to call him on his bluff. I don't think this Tyrantrum is scarfed. Therefore, I'm going to go for the attack. Now, I can take him out with an Ice Beam, or an Earth Power, or generally anything. However, he decides to switch out, basically revealing to me that he's not scarfed, or he thought that I was scarfed. Either way, that's good for me. I go for the Earth Power, which is fantastic. I get off damage on this Reuniclus. Obviously, you see the Regenerator kicking in. So, at this point, he realized he doesn't really have a switch into Earth Power or to Kieran Black in general. But I just decided to reveal right off the bat I'm not scarfed. The reason I did this is because I calced Ice Beam kills, Reuniclus is dead. So, at this point, I already have revealed that this is not scarfed. Not really what I wanted to do, but I had to do it anyway. He brings in Heatran, and this just screams Choice Scarf. I was really scared of offensive Heatran, and of course, if you're scared of a certain Pokemon coming, it's like a 95% chance that it's going to show up. I was scared of offensive Heatran, that's what he brought. My only kind of switch in was Meloetta, so I just kind of switched that in, and I was just like, you know what, Meloetta's not going to be taking hits from here on out anymore, so I kind of just let Meloetta go down, which is fine. Meloetta is mainly my Reuniclus switch in. I can work around everything else to the best of my ability. So, at this point, I'm assuming he's choiced into Flash Cannon. Even if he goes for something else, I'm pretty sure he cannot take me out. So, knowing that he's choiced into, assuming that he's choiced into Flash Cannon, I actually make a prediction. I go for Flare Blitz while a Heatran is still in, but he switches out and I go for Flare Blitz. And now that this Latias is now behind a Reflect, you can see how much damage this does. However, Latias does still outspeed. I don't really want to take a Draco. Using the prior knowledge that I gained earlier in the battle, I assume Draco is his only attacking move, meaning that I have a free switch into Gramble. he goes for Draco right here, basically telling me that yes, that is basically his only attacking move. I don't think he had any other attacking moves because he doesn't go for any others. The reason he doesn't get to go for any others is because he goes for a Roost here, but what he doesn't know is that we are a Choice Banded Gramble. I go for the Play Rough. There's no crit here. This is just Gramble putting in the work, taking out a Mega Latios from almost full. That's like solid 90%. Take it out. Done. Mega Latios is out of the way, Reuniclus is out of the way, things are looking so much better. However, Bruce is here. Honchkrow. That's kind of scary. Gramble can kind of work as a switch in, but it's already at half. Hippowdon, same thing, it's already about half. So you know what? I decided to put Mega Beedrill to use. Did you remember I had it on the team? I barely did, because this is all it does in the battle. It serves as good death fodder to get me some initiative. It also gives him a lot of Reco damage from Brave Bird, because he just O-coded Pokemon. However, I do gain some good knowledge here. He gets Moxie, and then he reveals that he has leftovers on this, so there's no Life Orb. So now I'm calculating +1 Sucker Punches to see what I can send in. I can send in Kieran Black. +1 Sucker Punch does around half. I'm okay with taking that damage. Let's go ahead and take out this Honchkrow. He goes ahead and goes for the Sucker Punch. I go for the Ice Beam, and this Honchkrow is done. And sort of just like that, we're just taking out threat after threat after threat, and we are looking so good in this match. He decides to bring in Conkeldurr. I was just like, you know what? He has to go for Mach Punch. There's no way he does not go for Mach Punch. So, my switch into a Mach Punch. Let's go ahead back into Gramble. He obviously doesn't have a great switch into this thing. He obviously doesn't want to deal with it. Let's go ahead and do it. So we switch in, and he does actually go for the Mach Punch, so he's making a lot of very safe plays. He really wants Kieran Black out, but you know what? I couldn't let him do it. So this turn, he is going to switch out. He goes into the Tyrantrum. I saw that the rest of his team was pretty weak to ground. He didn't have any resistances. He did have a resistance to Play Rough in the Heatran, so I was just like, you know what? There is nothing he can switch into that wants to take this Earthquake. So Gramble picks up its second kill, takes out a Tyrantrum from almost full with the Earthquake. Gramble putting in so much work. Now, Heatran comes in. I don't really have a switch into Heatran anymore. So, what I decided to do is see what he's going to choice himself into, and I decided to go into Kieran Black. The things he has alive right now are Heatran and Conkeldurr, both which basically outspeed Kieran Black. The Mach Punch will take out Kieran Black, and a Scarfed Heatran will take out Kieran Black. So I decided to sack Kieran Black off. It did so much work this match, and I'm really proud that Kieran Black finally did something for me this season. But I do decide to let it die. Sacrifice will not be in vain, because now I know he's choiced into Earth Power. What Earth Power does not do a whole lot against Hippowdon. So, pretty much assuming that he's going to end up switching out, I go for the Earthquake right here, because if he did stay in and I go for the Earthquake, then I take out the Heatran, and then I'm looking really good. So, knowing that he basically has to switch out, I do go for the Earthquake. Here. So now, basically, I'm playing up endgame scenarios in my mind. So, basically, what can happen here is, I'm going to pause it here, so basically what can happen here is I could stay in, he could go for the Ice Punch, almost kill me. I think it would actually be a roll. I think I would just live, but it's not something that I really wanted to risk. I could Earthquake, and then Heatran comes in, can choice himself into Earth Power, will take out the Hippowdon. I think it would take out the Gramble from this range, and then would also be able to possibly take out the Emboar. I did not want this to happen. The most that the Scarfed Heatran can do to Hippowdon is about 40%. So, knowing this, I decided to take the safest route possible. So let's go ahead and play, and you'll see what I decide to do. I could stay in, maybe go slack off, could Earthquake, but I was just like, you know what, I can't have Heatran come in and sweep me up. I'm not letting that happen. I'm not mismanaging the endgame this time. Let's go ahead into Gramble. We're going to sack it off. Gramble has done so much work that it's just, man, I love it so much. It's done so much work this match. He goes for the Ice Punch, gets a crit that does not matter. I did double check and calc it. He would have taken me out regardless, as far as I know. If it did matter, then I think that plus Mach Punch might have been able to take me out. I'm not really worried about it because I sent it in to sack it off, so I'm not worried about that if that affected differential or anything like that. He knows he has to get damage off. He knows basically I can just choice myself into Earthquake, and you know, so he can't switch out. He can't switch out into Heatran. I go for Earthquake because it does take out Conkeldurr, and now he only has a Heatran. I have a Hippowdon and an Emboar. So he cannot take out both of those things. He just cannot. Knowing this, I just leave Emboar in. He's going to choice himself into Earth Power, and he is going to take out the Emboar, because right now I'm going for the victory. I don't care about differential. I'm not really good at playing for differential. I just wanted to get the win and make sure that I played the endgame as safely as possible. Send in Hippowdon. Unless he gets a crit, he cannot win. This is it. 1v1. Mano a mano. This is the last turn. Earth Power goes off. Does he get a crit? Does he get a crit? There is absolutely no crit. We get an Earthquake. That takes out the Heatran, and that is going to be a 1-0 victory in our favor. So, this game, basically, this game, we did everything that we wanted to do. I put in the work in team building. I wasn't really caught off guard by too much in the battle as far as being surprised by any sort of calcs that happened. I was able to keep a level head, keep composure throughout the entire match. I did not mismanage the endgame. I did all the safe plays. I do not regret a single play I made. I think every single play I made in that battle was a good play, was good prediction, was good everything. I think I played really well, and we beat one of the better teams in the TBU. And this match has basically just brought my confidence back, and has basically, I've basically told myself that, you know what, I can do this, I can beat anybody, I can play with anybody. I took this team that I'm just starting to finally get comfortable using, and I took out one of the top threats in the TBU. So there's really no stopping us now. We only have 1 week left. Next week we're taking on Enzo and the Schwiskers, and that is most likely going to be our last TBU match because of the matches that we've had the past couple weeks. It's kind of hurt our playoff contention race. There's like a very small chance that we could still make the playoffs, but it's very, very small. So it's a very small chance that we can make playoffs. I don't expect to. If we do, then there will be more after that. If not, then this next week will be our last TBU match for the season. We're going to make sure it's a great one. We're going to keep this on a roll, and we're going to end with a 500 record. That's what I'm going to try and do. So that's the goal. Hopefully we can do it. Hopefully you guys did enjoy this episode. Make sure you leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and I will see you for our next TBU battle. So thanks for watching, guys, and until the next time, stay sly.